to Radio City Indie Exchange with me, Vijay Lakshmi, and I cannot tell you how elated and over the moon I am at this point because I am meeting one of my favorite singers after a year and a half on Zoom. Welcome, Shalmali.
Thank you so much, Jayalakshmi, and one of your favorite artists. Yes, thank you so much for
Always been, and I'm not saying it because of this interview. Always been.
oh, you're very kind, and it makes me so happy to hear that. I am very happy. I'm very happy to be back with you, talking to you, even though it's virtually. But as long as we're talking and we're talking about new music, I know that
Absolutely.
circumstances have changed a lot from the last time we met, where we danced and we were
Oh yes.
together.
I mean, for those of our viewers who are watching us right now, the last time Shalmali and I met, she had come to our studios for the promotions of Kalle Kalle, and I, being the non-dancer with two left feet, actually not exactly with two left feet, I am a decent dancer, but yeah, she really took the efforts to choreograph a whole routine for me and my colleagues, and she got us to do the hook step of Kalle Kalle, and Kalle Kalle became a nationwide range because dude, she looked smoking hot in the video. And from then on, in the whole of last year, she has totally made independent, going independent her new playground. She's released Ruka Ruka, she's released Regular, she's released For You. And now she has a whole full-fledged album called, let me get that right, 2 times Side A?
2x side A.
2x Side A. So 2x Side A is what she's now released. And I just can't begin to fathom as to how beautiful is the album already sounding. So first of all, Shalmali, if you have a look back at the last year in retrospect, I just want to ask you, what are your thoughts right now? Like when you look back from the time when you had released Kalle Kalle to now seeing your full-fledged album release in the kind of times that we're now living in, how do you look at the whole process of the last 1 year?
I think for all of us, in a way, 2020 has been a year of reflection on, seeing ourselves inside out to see where we stand today, where we'd like to be tomorrow, our journey so far, how it's been. And it was literally that for me, and a big thank you actually to the circumstances that led to this decision, because for the longest time I would just tell people that no, I am working on my English music, I'll put it out, especially those people who've known me since my college days, or those who know that I have a thing for English music. And I would just tell them I'm working on it, but I never had anything that materialized or anything that I could put out. And 2020 really gave me that time to ask myself, one, is this really something you want to do? Is this something that is going to speak your musical identity? And when I almost immediately got the response to that as yes, this is who you are as a musician, because I, for a while, and this is something again that I realized when I had the time to think about it, I didn't feel like I fit into the playback industry as much, and not because of the opportunities that came or did not come, but more because of how I wanted to express myself, as an artist. And I felt like I wasn't able to express myself in the way that I would have liked to in the playback Bollywood industry, which I knew I had complete control of if I would write my own music. And by that, when I say write, I mean lyrically and melodically write music, like songwriting. And
Yeah.
that I knew that as soon as I would associate the word songwriter with me, it will give me a sense of achievement, fulfillment, and what I would call a success in my life, instead of just being a singer. So I really had the time in 2020 to put those thoughts together, and then to tell myself that if I want to be a songwriter, then I probably need to do this as an album and not just a single. I needed to prove to myself that I'm not just someone who could write one good song. I wanted to know that I could put out a good lot of music, a good bunch of music that can come together as an album, as a body of work that I can look at and say I'm a songwriter, you know. So that's what I literally did in 2020. I decided I need to do songwriting. I decided I need to put an album out. I decided that even though my audience is predominantly Hindi music listening, I still needed to put out English music because that's the language that I think in and emote the best in and able to express myself best in. So it had to be English music. Also the genre had to be one that I was most comfortable in, and that was soul R&B, and not necessarily pop. Some of this music now can be put into a pop category, like a Love You Double from the album has a pop quality to it, but for the most part, it's soul. You know, its origin is soul, and that's the way that that's the music I listen to and also write. So that's what I did in 2020. I made some very big decisions and I'm just living by them now.
Shalmali, now that you said that, you wanted to, you've related to the term, the songwriter, because you always believe that you were blessed with the ability to comprehend thoughts that you wanted to put out there to the world. You wanted to write, music for yourself, compose and sing it, because you felt that you needed to put it out your way, and your way should not be dictated by external factors. Was that the conscious reason why you chose to venture into independent music more proactively in the last 1 year?
Um, Two reasons why. When you do independent music and when you write your own music, you're able to say things that you wouldn't otherwise find the opportunities to say. And by that, I mean like lyrically say stuff, the content of the song. And even the way that I am able to now musically express myself in the genre, like I said, like soul R&B is something that I don't know when the opportunity will come, or how long I will have to wait to sing a Bollywood song which is a soul R&B number, and I don't see that really happening. But that is my calling. Like I feel like that is the genre that I best fit in, and can sing with the kind of ease and the kind of love that I would like to. So it's because of this genre of music, as well as being able to say what I want to, that I'm doing independent music.
Shalmini, now that you mentioned that, because Bollywood music does not give that many opportunities to, especially women singers, where they can express themselves through a solo song. Because it's actually, you really pointed out a very hard truth that which so many singers across the board do, especially women singers across the board do opine that there aren't enough songs in the Hindi film industry that are picturized upon women, or that are written for women singers to, really put out their potential there. So was that also, a reason that constantly kept gnawing you somewhere at the back of your mind?
I don't think, again, as I mentioned, it was the particular genre, the genre of R&B soul that I wouldn't get the opportunity to sing in Bollywood, which I had the first, not a complaint, but something I had in mind. But also, it's right that female-centric songs are a rarity, and if at all there is a female part, it's really tiny, maybe just 2 lines here and there, and it doesn't explore the full potential of female vocalists, and that is a truth. It's an observable truth. That wasn't one of the reasons why I chose this, though. I think I'm blessed with a body of work in Bollywood that really, makes me stand out, even if it's the Itna Maza Kyun Aa Raha Hai part of Balam Pichkari, which is just the first 2 lines of the song, but and then 2 more lines in the verses of that song. But still, I got my due for that song. So my complaint is not so much towards Bollywood not having those many female-centric songs, but more with the view of just expressing myself, expressing myself as a songwriter and expressing myself in the way that I would like to sing. When you sing someone else's song, a song that's composed for a film against a certain storyline, it has to fit the actor's personality. So it has to basically match what that actor is going to look like, is going to be doing in the video, in the film. and that may not always be how I would like to sing a certain song. So independent music just gives me, an open playground to just sing the songs that I want the way I want to.
So Shalmali, I mean, when we look back at the year gone by, and we are back to the same situation where most of us were placed now. But when I speak about musicians, I think 2020 in a way really proved to be a blessing in disguise for indie musicians as a whole, because so many of them managed to make standout impressions in the last 1 year. There was an influx of independent releases that we could see. I mean, you yourself having, I think you had about 5 releases last year following Kalle Kalle. So I mean, if you look back at how 2020 has proven to be a blessing in disguise for indie musicians, where do you weigh in on that?
Absolutely, 100% a big blessing, because Bollywood just made way for independent music. It just made room, and I mean, I feel for the Bollywood industry at the same time, because of films not being able to release, and um, that sort of making an opportunity for independent music to really flourish. And uh, the importance then that independent music, which anyway ought to have got otherwise anyway, I feel, because there's some really amazing music that independent artists are making, but because there's so much marketing and there's so much talk around Bollywood music, that a lot of independent music in the past has just come and gone, even though it's been great music. So that, I think, was very encouraging for independent musicians to also know that if they put stuff out right now, there's a good chance it'll be heard, that it'll be seen, that it'll be consumed. So I'm really happy that 2020 saw a lot of independent music from a lot of artists, including myself. I did my first English single regular. I did For You, which was like a English song that I released. I did an international collaboration with Benji called Thing You Want, and then I'm putting out this album now in 2 halves this year. So yes, I am party to the independent phenomenon.
Shalmali, what I personally, I mean, one of my favorite tracks, and I'm so thankful to you for also featuring another favorite singer of mine, along with you. This collaboration is to die for. I mean, one standout track that I would like my viewers to definitely listen to is Here Is Beautiful, which Shalmali has sung with the Sunidhi Chauhan. So firstly, let me begin with asking you, the experience of collaborating with her only would have been so surreal, because so many of us have heard her from the early 2000s. We were like very young girls when she had started singing. I mean, when you look back at the whole process of just collaborating there, you remember your first meeting with her?
Yes, you very rightly said. Working with Sunidhi has been surreal. That is the word. It's been surreal. And even like last night, I called her and I was playing a new song that I'm working on right now to her. And when I hung up, I was like, I was just speaking to Sunidhi Chauhan, the Sunidhi Chauhan. So, that feeling, I don't think it'll ever go. Because she's that kind of a person. And not just now, I realize that's not just because of how amazing a musician she is and the way she can sing anything under the sun, but just the kind of human being she is also. How she looks at art, how she looks at music, how she treats it, and how everything else fails in front of the music. For her, nothing else matters to her than good music, and she is all in. She's either not doing something or she's all in. I've never, in the last many months that I have been in touch with her and gotten to know her, has she been like, I'll do a little, but my heart isn't really in it. Nothing that she does is 50% or 80%. It's not even 99%. It's always 100%. And that's something I really, it amazes me in her. And despite being in the industry for so long, having the kind of reputation that she does of being this incredible singer, to just agree based on the fact that she liked a song to sing with me, an artist who has, begun much later than her, has had very little experience as compared to her. I mean, is so amazing. What a quality to have in a fellow musician. It's just incredible. She's incredible.
And I think, the warmth that both of you share even reflects in the music video you all shot together. Because I think in one of your recent Instagram posts, you said that the music video is almost a step towards the equality you all wish to achieve amongst yourselves as, fellow singers, fellow musicians who are trying to, who each are trying to carve their identity in this field. Is that true?
I feel like when two women get together to do like a music video or any music at all, there's always this preconceived notion that people have in their heads that, do you think they'll get along? Will they be able to do some magic together, or will it just be like, cat fights? And women together in a frame is like cat fights always, but it's not. And you can have a beautiful relationship, which I really think we have today. Like Sunidhi and I can meet over a coffee and not talk about music and still have so much fun, like I'm really waiting to do that again. My heart longs to meet her, because that's a relationship I think that we built over time, which now reflects in the music video also. Just have being in each other's company, and then it does not really need to be it can be platonic. It doesn't have to be a sexual relationship. That intimacy doesn't need to be, just be two women who enjoy each other's company. And that's the precise idea of the video, to show a beautiful moment in the lives of two women who respect what they bring to each other's lives, and their relationship with nature, how they feel when they are in nature, how much one seeks from nature, and how much we must be grateful to nature for giving us this feeling of beautiful, because no matter where we are, when it's beautiful in nature, you have this immediate sense of, I'm so happy and I'm so grateful that I'm here in these mountains, or by this lake, or by the beach. And that's what we tried to really get in the video, because the lyric of "Here is Beautiful" is so open for interpretation. All it's really saying is to be grateful for the here and now. And that can be said between any two individuals, between an individual and God, between a dog owner and a dog. So it can literally be sung by anyone to express their love for someone else, and just be grateful for the here and now.
So speaking of the other songs of the album, when we talk about Love You Double, or when we talk about Language, or Sona, what was the innermost
Sora.
thought behind each? Sora, sorry. What was the innermost thought behind each song? What was, I mean, like you said, for Here is Beautiful, you wanted to establish that, two women can be much more than, just two women indulging in a cat fight. They can have their own individual personalities and still be so beautiful together. So for each song in the album, what was, I mean, did every song need to have a core thought, or was some just purely basis on whatever resonated with?
So everything resonated with me. It had to, because that's what I realized now, that if I have to write any music at all, it has to have a very, very deep impact on this heart. And then the words flow, because without that, I just can't get myself to write anything that makes sense over time. So Language, the first song of the album, is basically title Language because of English being sung by an Indian artist, and the kind of passive resistance that there is to an Indian singing in English is appalling. It's all around us, like the number of times I think I have indirectly been told don't do English music because we come from a country where people don't listen to English music. So, and I said, but I have heard English music growing up. I know a bunch of my friends who've heard English music growing up and they enjoy it. They look to artists singing in English. So why can't I? And I had to write the intro to the album expressing this thought of why it took me so long to write a song or write music in English. And that's what the content of language is. Love You Double is a love song. It's literally just saying that I'm sorry, I haven't done right by you, but this time I'm going to love you double. So again, it comes from an incident, a fight that I had, and I felt like I was in the wrong and I needed to write it. So I wrote this song then. As Far As We Get is another very interesting song. I think to me, it's one of my, yay, I could write a song like this, because it's not love related. It's actually audience related. I wrote this song to the audience because there was a time in the lockdown when I kept getting told, why did you cut your hair? You looked better before with long hair. Like I can do anything about that even. But, there would be like, why do you speak so much English? Maharashtrians would say that just speak completely in Marathi. Don't use English words while speaking in Marathi. Like just stuff that really pulls you down sometimes. And at that point, I wanted to write a song about how my audience was making me feel. So As Far As We Get is from that point of view, because I say stuff like I'm fixated and I can't ignore it. I'm fixated to whatever apps on your Instagram, etc. But even though your love is a number, and by that, like, your likes and your comments are in numbers, which is an indicator of your love, right? If you like a picture, you'll have more likes on it. So even though your love is a number, and so stuff like that, it's written from a point of view of me singing it to my audience. Uncool is a song that I wrote after a fight. It's the oldest song on the album. It was written in 2017 when I was living in a New York apartment for an entire month all by myself, just as therapy. And I wrote that song then after a fight, and it's a very juvenile song. It's extremely, it's from in the sense that the emotion is very young Shalmali. Like I wouldn't write that song today, because it comes from a place of neglect. When you're neglected in a relationship and you cry a lot and you just want attention, and that love is making you feel uncool, because you're crying, and that's sort of warping your image of yourself. So it's making you feel uncool. That's where that song comes from. And finally, the last track on the album, which is Sora. It's named Sora after my friend Sora, who passed away in an accident. And I think this is how I dealt with her loss. I wrote this song immediately on the day that I heard about it. She's a Japanese girl who I met only a handful of times in my life. Every time I visited my brother who used to live in Japan then, I met her then for either 10 days or a month, as much as I visited them. And she had the most kindest and passionate way of communicating, because it would be through either sign language or broken English or drawings or like pointing out things. And it taught me patience. It taught me a lot, my relationship with her. And it really impacted me a lot to know that I will never see her again. And that's where that song comes from. So it's literally an ode, and the arrangement of it moves me still, even when I was just listening to Sora right now before this interview. I remembered her. I remember her every time I listen to the song, and I'm so happy that I could do that for myself and all of us who have known Sora. So yeah, in all, the album comes from very, very specific personal experiences that I've had, and every song holds a very special place in my heart.
Oh wow! I mean, now that you say that, I realize that I haven't really heard Sora, and I think I must definitely, just tune into the song right away. I think once we are done chatting. But before that, Shalini, as you mentioned, as far as you get, is about your relationship with the audience. As an artist, or more importantly, as a performer, how connected or disconnected after a point you feel that an artist should be when it comes to receiving inputs and feedback from the audiences. Like, of course, when you create your art, it is open to interpretation, it is open to feedback to your audiences. But like you said, sometimes when the kind of negativity that comes your way can be upsetting, can be unsettling for the artist. So how can an artist ensure that he or she knows where to draw the line between, okay, this is what I accept and this is what I will discuss?
Tough one. It's a tough one, and I don't think I've cracked it myself, because I feel like I have the kind of personality that is very compulsively going against the tide. Like, I feel like I do that a lot. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if I do it intentionally or if it just happens, but you're saying something.
Please, I think, what I mean, a sincere, earnest advice from one moment to another is, it's high time we stop thinking about the good, the bad, as per the other person's view. We should just go with what we feel is right. Just go with your instinct. As simple as that.
And that's where I was anyway going to come to.
Yeah.
Going back to what you asked, I mean, where do you draw the line of how much suggestion, input, opinion you take, and where you ask yourself, what do I want to do? I think when you are convinced, and I think there comes a time when you feel extreme conviction in whatever you're doing. If you can build that faith enough to not let anybody taint it, that's where that line gets drawn. Now, for me, no matter how much whoever tells me, don't do English music, that's not something that's going to get you what you're looking for, I will say, sure, I respect your opinion, but I'm going to continue doing this because I have absolute faith. And if I didn't have the faith, if if I didn't have the faith, if I didn't I wasn't convinced myself, then I would have swayed. I was much likely to sway. So I think once you're convinced, you can convince others, and that's very important. And opinions, let them come. I mean, we need opinions, I feel, to some extent. We need to know what people are thinking, what they want. How much you want to give them what they want is up to you, but it's good to at least know what they want, and then give them the version of what they want which suits you too. Because if you're going to commit to something that's not you, I mean, I think you'll just feel trapped then at some point. It's not sustainable, if you're going to get. And that's what I keep asking myself, that hey, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to wake up and want to do it again and again and again and feel happy doing it. If I'm just going to pick up any trend that's going on right now, I'm going to be thoroughly exhausted, because that's not in my nature to do whatever everybody is doing because it's in trend and it'll give me views and likes and my followers will increase. But is that who I am? What if I have to turn around and tell people, but hey guys, sorry about all that rubbish I did, that's not really me, this is me, I sing English music. I'm going to fall on my face. So I think we need to really be able to, as artists, define who we are, who we want to be, and then have so much faith in what you're going for that you can convince everyone of that image.
I mean, all I can say at the end of this, Shalmali, is keep swimming against the tide and do what you believe in. And I mean, may all the success just follow your way.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks a lot. It's like with people like you that, you feel more enabled. You feel like you're on the right track. It's not like nobody needs, that pat on the back or, encouragement. All of us do, no matter what heights we are at. We all need that little encouragement. And I really thank you for giving me that today.
Absolutely my pleasure, Shalmali. Thank you so much once again for talking to us here at Radio City Indie Exchange, and look forward to all the wonderful music and all the more wonderful music that's about to come our way in the near future. All my best wishes to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Radio City.